And we are live with session 63 of our Drowned Gods campaign. Took a bit of a break there. We had plenty of fun, played some Baldur's Gate in the meantime, but we are back. And probably not better than ever, but at least hopefully as good as ever. Given that we've been out so long, and especially since we have a new player here today, welcome Molly. I am going to do a big recap of the high level of pretty much the full plot. So, I'm tempted to read out the full intro that I gave everyone else. I should send that to Molly later, though. It's a little long to read. So the story starts out in a small tribe on an island known as Outset Island, where a little band of friends are headed off on their journey of adulthood, where every child on the island goes and climbs the local volcano as a rite of adulthood. They made it through with various trials and tribulations, including at one point they discovered all of their spirit animals, which we'll definitely need to address with this new generation at some point, but those will come up when they come up. In this case, Jason's character, who was Pipiopi, his spirit animal was an axolotl named Ka. Anna's character, who was Akalupu Not Jr., so Akalupu Sr., though he wasn't senior at the time, had a were-shark spirit animal named Haka. And there was also Sammy, who is the only female in the group, a shy, kind of mousy girl. Her spirit animal was a large, like, human-sized mouse, and the only still existing member of the group, because they are an elf and have the lifespan for it, Manawa Nui, which is Abe's character. His spirit animal was a crow, and Manawa Nui and Sammy never did learn the names of their spirit animals. So they made it up and succeeded in their journey. They came back to the island and were given a hero's welcome, and a feast was kicked off in celebration of them having reached adulthood at the very, very old age of like 13 or something, if I remember correctly. The party went great. There were lots of games and food, but then a huge storm rolled in, and all of them were forced, the whole tribe was forced to go take cover in an island, or in a, in a cave on the island. And normally the tribes are not allowed to go into caves because of their kapu, which are basically forbidden activities, of which there is a list. I don't think it's up to date. I need to actually fix it. But Molly, if you're curious about the kapu, if you go into Roll20, there's a journal tab in the top right. It's the one that looks kind of like a newspaper. And then under handouts, there should be a kapu list. It is slightly out of date. I need to fix that. They went into this this cave to escape from the storm that was coming in, and while inside of the cave, they decided to do a little bit of spelunking and headed deeper into the caves, and ended up spending the next day and a half digging deeper into the caves, determined to find something. And eventually they did, in fact, find something. In fact, two very important somethings. They found a corpse dressed in strange clothing, holding an object with glowing lines on it and made of a strange and unfamiliar material. They took this item and then explored further, and they found what seemed to be a volcanic tube heading straight down into a red, misty abyss. Discussing it with Sammy, Sammy mentioned that this could potentially be a portal into the spirit realm. which there are, several known portals into the spirit realm. Some are, or at least there are stories of them. Some, like this, are just giant holes in the ground. Some are found under giant whirlpools in the middle of the ocean. There are others, various strange and unusual ways to get into the spirit realm. And after much discussion about what to do, one of them decided that jumping into a possibly bottomless pit was a good idea, and so Manawa Nui did exactly that and jumped off into the abyss and disappeared into the mist.
Iconic.
Yeah.
Indeed.
Legend behavior, honestly.
Yeah, he's just sad. I think Manawa Nui, who was a male at the time and is female now, we'll get to that. I think Manawa Nui was just sad there was no excuse to do the double middle fingers as he was falling into the pit. But yeah, so headed down into the pit and disappeared into the mist. And the rest of the group stared rather awestruck and dumbfounded by this decision, and waited, and nothing happened, and they decided they didn't want to jump into an enormous pit, and so they decided to head back up to the surface like normal people. And so they made it back out. Of course, by the time they returned, it had been like 3 or 4 days of them wandering around in the caves. Luckily, they brought some food and water with them. Plus they had some magic that kind of helped out with the situation, but they made it out, and of course the storm had long since passed over and the rest of the tribe was starting to worry about them, but there wasn't a whole lot of time to really think about that, because after they had come out and started trying to explain what had gone on and why Manawa Nui was no longer with them, a strange vessel was seen floating a short ways offshore. I guess for context, their tribe had been stuck on this island for quite some time, because even though many people had tried leaving on the island, no one had ever managed to come back to the island. And it was unclear why that was the case. So it was very strange to see any sort of a vessel like that, because no one had ever made it back to the island. However, once the vessel did land, it was not a familiar face that was seen inside. Instead, it was a very old, scraggly man who seemed to have gone mad from drinking seawater. But they pulled him out of the boat and started trying to figure out what was wrong with him, gave him food, etc. And eventually the story came out that this crazed old man claimed to be Manawa Nui, except, obviously very old now. His story was that he had fallen into these... Sorry, go ahead. You had a question?
Did he claim to be Manawa Nui?
He did.
I thought he didn't remember quite who he was.
No, he claimed to be Manawa Nui.
Okay.
So the story this old man told was that he, Manawa Nui, had fallen into the volcano, as they had just recently borne witness to, and had...
Fallen sounds like an interesting verb to use there.
Yes, but definitely not the more interesting one in this story. So he claims that he fell into the spirit realm and had then gotten lost and in a maze, at the center of which was a witch who cursed him to age rapidly, and that by the time he had managed to escape from the spirit realm through a different entrance from the one which he came into, that he had aged to his current state. And because time works differently in the spirit realm, what he was asking the group to do was to come with him back to the entrance from which he exited and make their way to where he fell in, at which point, because of the strange timey-wimey nonsense of the spirit realm, they would be able to stop him when he fell into the spirit realm and stop him from getting lost in that maze and being cursed by the witch, and therefore keeping him from being an old crazy man. And the group was not entirely convinced by this story, but eager to, go out and see the world and have some adventure. they agreed to go with him to this island. And so after some preparations and repairing the old man's boat, and many farewells and gifts from the various the locals, probably the most notable of which was that the tribes, one of the tribe elders, and definitely not the father of Pipiopi, which is Jason's character, gave him a Triton's Conch, which is a magical item that, when blown, gives everyone in the area around it the ability to breathe underwater and bonuses to swim checks. And yeah, totally not his father or anything. And that's not why he gave him such a good gift. But they set sail and went off to the other island, which they ended up naming Papaya Island, because as they started exploring it, they found out that it was filled with cute, adorable puppies, and also really creepy ghosts who took care of the puppies. And eventually, after some, misadventures, they made their way through a portal that was a giant whirlpool in the center of the island, down into the spirit realm. And they made their way back to where Manawanui had fallen in. And upon climbing the tower, they found out that it was not, in fact, Manawanui who had been with them this entire time as an old man. It was actually Manawanui's familiar, a white raven named Reginald. What had happened was not quite what the old man had said. What had actually happened was that as they had fallen into the spirit realm, the two of them had traded bodies, and so Reginald was now in Manawanui's body, and Manawanui was in Reginald's body, so a bird. The two of them had then been locked up in a tower. Reginald had managed to escape, and the whole maze thing and being cursed by a witch did actually happen. But when they returned, what they needed to do to return things to normal was to actually switch their bodies back. And so doing so, the two of them returned to their original bodies. However, that meant now that Reginald was in the body of a crow rather than an elf, and that meant that he had aged to being essentially dust. And so, alas, poor Reginald did not survive. But despite this unfortunate event, they made their way back out of the spirit realm and back onto Papaya Island, where they found out that the puppies were actually various castaways who had been trapped on the island, and that the food there, these trees that grew essentially like meat fruits, turned people into puppies, and so don't eat the fruit there. Also, the spirits were not happy about them leaving and tried to kill them, but they did manage to escape, and shortly before escaping, thanks to some nonsense that was only found out about later, Sammy helped Manawanui summon his familiar back, so they were able to retrieve Reginald's soul and summon him back, none the worse for wear, since they were so close to the spirit realm. And from there, they headed out to, let's see, what was next? They went back to the Outset Isle, actually. On their way back, though, they discovered the reason that while many people had tried to leave the island, no one had made it back, was that there was an enormous entity called Genie, this huge stone and metallic creature who was protecting the island, but a little too fastidiously, because it turned out he had been given instructions that were far too broad, and was following them to the letter rather than to the intended effect. And so anything that could be interpreted as a threat that approached the island was being destroyed. Luckily for old man Reginald, he was old and weak, and so this creature did not consider him a threat and did not destroy him when he tried to sail back to the island. They found out that the strange artifact they had found in the cave was actually a key that allowed them to command the creature. And so they updated its commands so that it would stop killing anyone who came near the island. And then they returned and were given a hero's welcome. From there, some stuff came out, including the fact that PPOP was actually not the son of Elvis, who he thought was his father, but it instead was Loki's son. And that his mother was a unicorn from an island some ways off to the west. And they decided to set sail because the general imperative of the tribe is that the world was created by an entity called the Great Coconut Tree. And that the Great Coconut Tree, despite creating the world actually through an accident, according to their lore, that the world had problems, and that the Coconut Tree was not happy with the current state of it, all of the monsters, the lack of arable land, and various other problems, and that the Great Coconut Tree, if these problems were not rectified, is going to destroy the world and recreate it. And give it a second try. And so their tribe, one of their directives is to go out and find how to solve this problem. And of course, the first step to that is to find the Great Coconut Tree and talk to it and see what it needs. And so they know that during their Festival of Adulthood, there was actually the Great Coconut Tree actually appeared in the sky as a constellation and shot down a beam of light which touched down off to the west. And so between that and PPOP's mother being off that direction, they decided, let's head over to the Silicon Valley and try to figure out what's going on there, try to meet PPOP's mother, and also hopefully find the Great Coconut Tree. And so they set sail and eventually arrived at Silicon Valley. From there, they discovered that the character who seemed likely to be PPOP's mother was the queen of the island previously, but she had actually disappeared. And it was general knowledge that she was dead, but there were whispers that perhaps she had actually just abdicated and left. Meanwhile, in her absence, two different very powerful unicorn factions had taken control of the island and were making things difficult. And until they resolved that and got the Crown of Balance put back together, as it had been split into the Crown of Light and the Crown of Darkness, they would not be able to figure out where PPOP's mother had gone. And so they got involved in all of those politics and decided to steal both halves of the crown for themselves, which as they were working on that, they found out that despite the fact that both of these factions claimed to control the crowns and make use of them, neither of them actually ever wore the crowns. They just had possession of them. Which was interesting. But they were able to steal both halves of the crown and reunite it. And they found out that the anarchist third group that they had been working with, the leader of it actually wanted to take the crown for herself. But they refused that and fought her off at great expense to PPOP, who at this point had gone from being a sorcerer to being a witch, and was now had
Not PPOP. Mono Inui.
Sorry, yes, correct. Mono Inui. So Mono Inui, who had gone from being a sorcerer to a witch, and now had a patron who is a demon named Topple. And as part of being able to wear the crown, which they had decided they wanted to wear the Crown of Darkness to help them get the Crown of Light, before uniting them. One of the requirements, which Mono Inui did not realize at the time, was that the wearer must be female. And so Topple offered to make it possible for Mono Inui to make use of the crown, and Mono Inui, not putting two and two together, agreed to it, and that's why Mono Inui is now female instead of male. So anyway, they used the Crown of Darkness, got a hold of the Crown of Light, united the two halves of the crown, and then fought off the leader of the anarchists, a unicorn named Harley, using the combined crown. However, the crown has to choose its wearer, and while the Crown of Darkness thought that Manawanui sure was a swell lady, the Crown of Light not so much, and so the combined Crown of Balance was not terribly happy with the choice of wearer, and ended up almost killing Manawanui, but in the end they prevailed and were able to get into the royal crypt. Well, specifically Pipiopi was, because he has royal blood. Everyone else was kept out by a magical barrier. And so Pipiopi went inside and found a message in the empty tomb where his mother should have been laid to rest. And it said that she had, in fact, abdicated the throne rather than being dead, and said that she had gone off to an island even further west, in search of the Star Mother, which, after conferring with the unicorns, they realized was the name for what their tribe called the Great Coconut Tree. And so now, armed with that knowledge and the fact that they saw the beam of light also farther to the west, they decided to continue following Pipiopi's mother. But in the meantime, they made some upgrades to their boat and also picked up some new crew members to be able to crew their larger boat. A group of 4 unicorns. There was Yasuka, who was basically a town guard. There was Blackrock, who was the daughter of the leader of the anarchists, and then there were the 2 princesses of the warring factions who had possession of the halves of the crown, which was Princess Sunbeam and Princess Starfire?
Yes.
That sounds right. Yes, Starfire. So with these new people in their crew, they headed off and went to this next island, which turned out to be an island full of dinosaurs. So upon arriving at the island, they started to realize that something was wrong. The usually somewhat peaceful, or at least not overly aggressive dinosaurs had become more and more aggressive, and a tribe of little coconut goblins that the group decided to call Cocobiters were also becoming unusually aggressive. And so they made their way through and found that where they landed was a small village where everyone had been wiped out except for this one suspicious individual who was hiding behind a bush by a dead body. But they took him with them, mostly just because they didn't want him out wandering around who knows where doing who knows what.
People.
And so they started heading toward what the man claimed would be a village further in the interior of the island. However, at night they found him off in the hiding in the woods, making strange concoctions under moonlight that definitely were not poisons to kill the group or anything. And this strange individual would be Mako, by the way. And so they made their way to the village, which was under attack by the Cocobiters. Or no, it wasn't under attack yet. It will be soon. So they made their way over to the village, and they handed over Mako, who tried to escape through some really weird nonsense, but did not manage it. And so they brought him to the village chief and said that he'd been acting suspicious, and explained what things he was doing, and handed him over to them. And they said they would put him in their jail and try to figure out what was going on. But shortly after they had arrived, the village was attacked by Cocobiters. And so valiantly they drove off the would-be invaders and saved the village. And then asking around about PPOP's mother, they heard of a woman who had arrived on the island who matched her description, and had taken several of the villagers and had gone off to a tower deep in the interior of the island, where it is said that the beams of light coming from the sky had touched down from the great coconut tree, or in her case, the Star Mother. And so, armed with this knowledge, they headed off to try and find PPOP's mother, and went through a variety of other adventures, most applicable to what Molly needs to know. And I talked a little bit about this, is that at one point they came across a clearing where there was a bunch of dead bodies and a madman who was heavily wounded, dragging himself along the ground and growling things. We ended up healing him, and instead of being thankful, he went crazy and tried to kill us. So we murdered him, and then we stacked his body with all the other bodies, and set up camp. But later that night, as we were preparing the camp, Yasuka was patrolling the exterior and noticed Mako hiding behind a bush, definitely not being suspicious. And after having warned him that if they saw him again, they would attack him on sight, Yasuka did exactly that, fired off a Scorching Ray, did a just absolutely stupid amount of damage, because I got a very good roll, and turned Mako into dust.
And you wonder why he was hiding.
Or maybe he should have just stayed away from us like we told him to.
Mm-hmm.
Or been less suspicious the entire time. Then, you know, if he was like...
the victim.
If he was like...
Victim blaming.
Hey, you know, if he had been like good old JB, you know, we didn't tell JB to stay away or we were going to turn him into dust. I'm just saying, it's about how you come off. Anyway, so with that resolved, they swept his ashes under the rug essentially and buried all of the bodies in a pit together. But yeah, so then they went through various other adventures. They found a swamp hermit named Jean-Baptiste. Everyone calls him JB, who helped them on their journey through the swamp, got them through various dangers. They arrived at an enormous, like, what was it, 2,000 feet, Abe? The cliff?
Oh, it was, I think it was around a mile.
So like 5,000 feet?
5,000
Yes.
some odd feet.
So like a 5,000 foot cliff, like a huge cliff, which stood between them and their destination. But they saw that there seemed to have been some buildings built into the side of the cliff, very much further up from the ground, that were inhabited by cocobiters, and a series of rope ladders that made their way up. And so the group, continuing to follow the trail left by PPOP's mother of just ripping pink hairs out left and right and tossing them wherever she went, it seems like. They climbed the cliff and made their way to the village, and stealth mission style murdered every single cocobiter in the village, either directly or by pushing them off the edge to fall thousands of feet to their death. And eventually they made their way to a cabin, and looking inside, there was finally PPOP's mother, the queen, well, former Queen Grace Glimmer. Turned out she had actually used her mind control powers to brainwash all of the cocobiters, and they were working for her now. However, she had not told them not to murder us, so we didn't have much of a choice but to take care of them. We also found out that Mako was a bit of her, like, young protege. Would that be an apt descriptor?
Like, you know, almost adopted son.
Yeah. So we
There's a beautiful tension between him and PPOP that never got to play out.
Yeah. So we told her that, oh, we're sorry, we met him, but we left him at the village, and they said he escaped from prison and no one's seen him since. Must have got at by the dinosaurs. Who knows? Just disappeared one day. Yeah, so having finally met back up with her, and the reunion between PPOP and his mother and the general butting of heads between Yasuka, who kind of liked PPOP, and his mother. They eventually made their way up the final bits of the cliff, had a few more adventures. There was some riddles and a Gorgon who tried to turn everyone into stone statues and some other things. We eventually made our way to the tower, which was this large black metal obelisk kind of thing. Well, less of an obelisk and more of like the Tower of Sauron, honestly, with little spikes on the end. But yeah, so we finally made it there, and when we arrived, we discovered that there were some strange goings on with the tower and some sort of a spirit that had taken up its residence there. But after traveling through some portals and eventually fighting this creature who claimed to be Manawa Nui's spirit animal Ka, we defeated him, and it turned out it was not actually Ka, but some sort of shadow version of Ka. But we resolved that, killed him, and we're finally free to explore the tower as we liked. And looking into it, this was definitely where the Great Coconut Tree / Star Mother was touching down for unknown purposes, but there didn't seem to be any way in or any way to interact with it. And so, having finally broken the curse on the island, Ka was also the weird shadow Ka was the reason that all of the things were being super aggressive and evil. Am I getting most of that right, Abe?
Wasn't it Haka?
Yes, sorry, Haka. Ka is PPOP's spirit animal, the Oxlow. Yeah. You are correct. Thank you.
It was the shadow version of Haka. His, or you could say it was his shadow.
Yes. But yeah, so they stopped the curse on the island and settled down to build up the island, establish trade routes with the different places that they had been. They were able to work on some of the technology available to their tribe, especially with the new resources available, and study the tower. And so eventually, the most of the former PCs, so PPOP, Akalupu, and Yasuka decided that they were ready for more adventure, and so they set off on a boat one day to seek further adventure and to continue trying to find the Great Coconut Tree and talk to it. However, they were never seen again.
I thought you said that they found the Great Coconut Tree.
They found the tower where the Great Coconut Tree touched down with its light from the sky.
Oh, but she was no longer there.
Yes, the Great Coconut Tree was not currently speaking. The tower was inert, and they could not find any way to activate it or get inside.
Well, they did, though.
No, the former PCs never got in.
Oh, yeah. I'm sorry. I'm confusing the lore. JK.
But they knew that when the Great Coconut Tree, or I'm just going to start calling it the Star Mother because that's honestly a better name. When the Star Mother touched down there, they learned from JB that when this happens, because he actually had been there many years back, so not during the event where they became adults, but sometime before that, that the tower opened up and he was able to go inside. And so they were kind of waiting on that, but several of them got impatient and went off to find other adventures and had not been seen since. So we cut forward to their children. In the meantime, sadly, so Sammy and Akalupu. Sammy and Akalupu became a couple. Sadly, Sammy died in childbirth with Anna's current character, Akalupu Jr., because Akalupu is creative like that. And
that's what happens when you die and your husband is alone. He's just like, how about me, Junior?
Right, exactly. Akalupu, of course, has left. PPOP left. And so Ipoi Pip, which is just PPOP backwards, which PPOP thought was hilarious when he named his son, was raised primarily by his 4 unicorn mothers, because PPOP married all 4 of the unicorns, which is quite common on Unicorn Island. There's like a 10-to-1 ratio of women to men. And so generally in their society, men have essentially harems, except but the women run everything. The men are just basically like pampered pets who are used for, stuff, the next generation stuff that you have to do to make children. You get it. Anyway, yeah. Now, interestingly, all 4 of PPOP's wives did have a single child each, and despite the astronomical odds against it, all 4 of them were males. So Epoipip has 3 brothers, who are I guess it's not important. I could throw a bunch of names at you, but it would just get confusing. But basically, it's 3 brothers. The main one that you need to worry about is Burnbright, who is the son of Sunbeam, and he is especially close with Epoipip, who largely goes by Ip. But yeah, so and then of course, Manawanui, being an elf, is still just Manawanui, and decided not to go with her friends when they left the island, because she decided to stay and continue studying the tower. She, in fact, built her own little twin tower not too far away to study it from. And also took over raising Akalupu Jr. because Sammy's dead and Akalupu left. So that kind of catches you up on the current set of characters. So starting with this current generation, we had Burnbright and Epoipip exploring some caves, looking for pieces and parts from these strange metal men who are occasionally found on the island, because Burnbright is an inventor and uses their pieces to make strange doodads and what's-a-who's-its. And we also had Akalupu Jr., who just goes by Junior, and Manawanui in Manawanui's tower, doing some research and being besieged by a tribe of cocoa biters. And so eventually, over time, Epoipip and Burnbright finished their explorations and decided to go and visit Manawanui and Junior, since they were nearby, discovered that they were being besieged, and they worked together. The siege went on for some time, and strangely, the casualties seemed to be replaced every morning. No matter how many they killed, there were always more in the morning. But with some help from JB, who showed up with a small army of dinosaurs, they were able to defeat the cocoa biter matriarch, who had been spawning all of the reinforcements. And break the siege. So having done so, JB revealed that the Star Mother, by doing some reading of the gumbo, he revealed that the Star Mother was going to visit that night. And so they went over to the other tower, and indeed the Star Mother did visit. The constellation appeared in the sky, a large tree-shaped constellation, which became connected by beams of light before shooting out a huge beam of light from the center of it, which touched down directly on the tower. JB then said that his time had come and he was going to be with the Star Mother, and so he walked into this beam of light and disappeared in a flash. After the beam disappeared and people could see again, they saw that the tower had in fact opened up just as JB had described. And going inside, they connected with the Star Mother finally. And the Star Mother told them that she needed them to go to an island far to the east, which she called the Isle of Ice and Fire. And there, on that island, was another shrine to the Star Mother, similar to this tower, which had been desecrated, and she needed them to go there and cleanse it so that she could once again commune with that shrine as well. She also offered all of the characters the blessing of the Star Mother, which Manawanui, ever the distrustful one, except of, volcanoes and jumping into them, turned it down. Junior also turned it down. However, Poipip and Burnbright accepted the blessing of the Star Mother and sat down in a large chair, which then stabbed them in the heart and just as quickly repaired the area where they had been stabbed. So they have been given the blessing of the Star Mother. They then made their way back to the village to plot their next moves and to figure out how they were going to make their way to this Isle of Ice and Fire. And while there, they discussed the possibility of, a ship, but in the air, some kind of airship. At which point Burnbright and Sunbeam revealed that they actually had been stewing on just such an idea, and that they had an idea how it could be accomplished. There are these creatures called bullets who, despite their enormous mass and heavy weights, were able to leap high into the air almost as if they weighed nothing. And they believe that these creatures have some means of levitation or becoming light, which would be useful in creating some sort of an airship. And so they went off to hunt one of these creatures to try and get parts from it to create their ship, which they, after a long fight that went through various locales as the creature continued to fight a hit and run battle, they eventually were able to take down the creature. And that is here where everyone is sitting on the beach on its body. So that catches us up to the current moment. Any questions? I know that was a lot.
I'm glad I was taking notes. So is somebody playing as Burnbright? Is that what you said?
Burnbright is an NPC. So okay. I'm currently running him, as I do all NPCs.
Well, I personally don't have any questions at this time. That was a lot of information, but I got it.
Yeah,
I got some of it.
Yeah, I know that was a lot. I just wanted to give you the basic overview of the plot. Since this will be on YouTube, you can rewatch it if you feel like you get lost at some point. But for the most part, especially for your character who won't know any of this anyway, you won't really need to remember any of it to be able to play effectively.
That makes sense. Thank you so much for summarizing that for me. Because I know it was mostly for me, and I appreciate that, because I know it was it's been 3 years of y'all playing, so
yeah,
that's awesome.
No worries. All right, so we're going to get started. So, Manawanui, you are still tucked in behind the armor plates where you had taken a ride. Akalupu, you're standing there with your bloody Makwahal, still sucking in the juices of your latest kill. As it falls dead and starts to shift, Manawanui, you are finding yourself slowly being trapped in the armor plates as its head rolls back.
This is not to an extent that I'm going to be crushed, right?
It's impossible unless something breaks on its shell. Even if it completely closed, leaned its head all the way back and closed off the area, you wouldn't be crushed, but you would be very trapped.
Okay, that's fine. We chilling.
All right, so you're just gonna roll down and hunker?
Well, there's no time for me to escape, I assume, right?
There is if you want to roll reflex.
Oh, I will do that then. I assume that this was a done deal.
Possibly.
Boneyard Lord?
Yes, Boneyard Lord. No, so you can either roll reflex or you can roll acrobatics to do a squeeze action to try and get out through the gap.
Let me see.
So it's either a question of are you going to try and react to it quickly, or are you going to try and do it more measured and squeeze out the small space?
Considering I've got a +10 in reflexes and a +3 in acrobatics, we're gonna go with reflex.
All right.
Alrighty. I don't have my physical dice, so don't let me down.
Terrible. Dice. You're a pleb like the rest of us now.
Oh no, I got 14.
All right, so
Roll the floor.
you notice it starting to close on you, and you start to jump out, but you realize it's too late. And rather than getting now potentially crushed by the edge as it closes down, you slide further into the crevice and hide yourself. So Burnbright's gonna come over and be like, "Hey, Akalupu, it's like supposed to be light, right? Do you think we can lift it?"
That seems like that would be a pretty good guess.
All right, let's try it. So he's gonna try to grab it under one of its feet.
Is Burnbright not a unicorn? When y'all say unicorns, are these not horses?
These are, so the unicorns are able to shapeshift.
How is he grabbing it with his hooves? You know.
So the unicorns are capable of shapeshifting between both their horse and human form. So he's currently in his human form to be able to do this. Now, however, when they are in horse form, all unicorns have some degree of magic that allows them to do certain things. Some of them have strong enough magic that they can actually create astral wings and fly, which is something that Ipoipip can do. Burnbright cannot, but all unicorns are able to use essentially telekinesis to be able to lift things and handle them as if they had hands.
Okay, got it.
All right, Mono, anyway, you grabbing the other foot?
Kalupu is grabbing the other foot.
Sorry, I will get people's names straight occasionally. All right, yeah, so the two of you lift, and in fact, the creature does come easily off of the ground, despite it being huge. Whoa, it works! Wait, where did Monowanui go? I feel like I'm hearing like some muffled screaming for help or something.
That is what I'm doing. I'm banging on the exoskeleton. Junior! But Carter sounds like.
Akalupu is going to see how, like obviously he can lift it easily, but he's going to see if he can, like, adjust the head to get it open easily.
So you can lift the head, which then only closes it further, so that's not effective. If you could lift the back part of its body, you could potentially do that, but as you're lifting, interestingly, it doesn't feel as though it's light. Like it doesn't feel as though it doesn't have weight. It's more as if it is somewhat repelled from the ground. So you can only lift it upward directly, but you can't easily shift it in other directions.
Okay. Well, Akalupu is going to go and, like, grab its, like, tail and lift there.
All right, so yeah, Burnbright will join you. Let's get a couple of strength checks. Or probably athletics checks makes more sense. So give me a couple of athletics checks. Well, I will athletic check for Burnbright. All right, Burnbright got a 26.
$25.
Nice. All right, so the two of you are easily able to lift the body and shift it so that the body is now higher than the head, so that the gap reopens in its armor.
Jump, Mananwenui.
Monoranui is going to. Wait, jump. Is this like. I assume this thing was kind of laying on the ground, so I figured I just kind of like.
You can slide off it, yeah.
Yeah, I'm gonna slide off.
All right. So you slide daintily off of the creature and back onto the ground. But as Burnbright and Akalupu are holding this creature, you realize that it is getting noticeably heavier. Or I guess more accurately, it is getting noticeably more difficult to hold up.
We drop it
All
and
right.
relay that information.
Oh,
I don't know
no.
if Akalupu like relays it. I feel like Burn Bright's got the more like technical mind.
Yeah. Burn Bright says, "Oh no!" Like, and he starts looking at the wound, the killing wound, and the other blows that it's taken. None of these like seem like they're doing too much damage to its body, but it's still getting heavier, just like all the other times that we've killed these. Maybe it's not like gas sacks or something like we thought it was.
As a quick question, is this thing like dying?
It is dead.
Oh, it's already dead.
Yes. Yes, Akalupu made sure that it was very dead.
Hmm.
Now it's continuing to like bleed out over time.
Mono, I know he's considering sharing some pertinent information, but it also might be, you know, a little contrary, a little controversial.
Well, I guess it's lucky that this thing died right by the ocean. We could maybe like push it in while it's still light enough to do that and then float it around the island back to the village.
Well, thought. If it's becoming heavier, would it not sink after we've pushed it?
I don't think so. I'm pretty sure, like, you know, most corpses float. I would assume this would be similar. I don't know. Unless its armor is just like that heavy.
I trust you. You're the technical one.
Well, I mean, I'm not like sure about it. It's not like we've, you know, just like kicked these things into the ocean and watched them float before. So it could sink, but I mean, we wouldn't be any worse off than with it just stuck here on the beach if it's like, you know, 20 feet off the beach.
Like a plan.
I mean, I guess the other option is like I could fly back to the village and go fetch the moms, and we could like try to dissect and do the research here.
No. I think floating it around. In the worst case scenario, we just have to kill a second one.
Yeah, I mean, like, hopefully not. Monoenemy, give me a diplomacy check.
That's scary. Swear to gosh, if I get another 4. Oh, sweet, 22.
All right. So I'm using diplomacy in this case, not the way you normally would, but more as like a social skill, because it is a fairly applicable charisma-based skill. But yeah, so when you're talking to Burnbright, you notice that you know, even though he's doing his best to hide it, he's acting kind of awkward around you. Like he's having trouble meeting your eyes, and he keeps kind of like glancing around, like looking anywhere but at you. So just a little weird.
Wait, who did you say is acting weird?
Burnbright.
Okay.
Mono, we've told you about wearing that dress in public.
Huh?
Mono Inouye, we've talked to you about wearing that dress in public.
LOL. Well, I guess Mono Inouye is going to take stock of herself and see if there's something particular. Because this is new behavior, right? This isn't like...
Yeah, this is, I mean, at least it is new since, like, the fight started. Like, when he was discussing plans and, like, you guys were preparing the trap for the bullet and all that kind of stuff, he was not acting like this.
Oh, okay. All right. It's not like this. Some sort of secret. So I am going to, like, take stock of myself.
You check yourself. You seem fine. There's no wardrobe malfunction or anything like that going on.
I don't appear to have like glowing eyes or anything like that.
Nope.
I'm gonna do a general perception check, just to like look and see if there's anything suspicious. Like maybe, I don't know. I got a 23. I'm looking around, seeing if there's anything fishy.
I mean, there's a couple, dolphins kind of porpoise their way across the ocean a little ways out. They're kind of fishy. But no, it doesn't seem like there's anything out of place that you wouldn't expect to be going on. Like, you were here when the bullet got killed, so you know why its giant carcass is here.
Where did this body come from?
Yeah, in fact, as you guys are talking, Gur, which is Burnbright's little robot, is going to walk up and reach into the bullet's mouth and pull out its arm that the creature had bit off earlier. And then walk over to Akalupu and be like, I really gotta hand it to you. We took care of that. Give yourself a pat on the back. And he pats himself with his own arm. Yeah, he got really damaged. He's almost dead. He's like 9 hit points.
I was gonna laugh very hard at that.
Yeah, his little like sleeper that he wears is all tattered. Yeah, he looks bad.
Akalupu,
did you?
Seaweed.
Were you gonna say something, Jason?
Yeah, did Akalupu get all the juicy blood out of this big ass bullet?
It's a good question. Are you over there just like draining it from one of its wounds?
But yes.
All right, go ahead, and your gem is now glowing, so you can consider it to be powered up.
Nice.
Watch
What that
see if
does
the
again.
drainage is having any effect on the weight distribution.
As it's draining, are you gonna like check it? Are you gonna try to lift it or something while it's being drained?
Yeah.
All right, it definitely is continuing to get heavier. Whether that's specifically because it's being drained or other things, you don't know, but like it's definitely continuing to get harder to lift.
Stop draining it. And I'm gonna try and lift it.
All right. It feels like it is becoming harder to lift more slowly, but it is still continuing to get heavier.
I feel like the blood is something.
Yeah, that's a good That's a great observation, bro. You'll have to let the moms know when we get this thing back. If it's just getting heavier, we'd better like push it into the ocean now if that's our plan, though.
As a quick question, so while I was talking to Burnbright, can I cast Discern Secret to try and sense his motive?
You can definitely cast Discern Secret. Let me check exactly what that does again, though.
It's under my focus spell, which
yeah,
I've actually never used either of them.
Yeah, it's a thing you get from Topple.
Okay.
Better uncover secrets. When you cast a spell, the target can recall knowledge, seek, or sense motives. You would be doing sense motive. The target gains a +1 status bonus to the skill or perception used for the roll, and this becomes blah blah blah. All right, so yes, you can use Discern Secret to give yourself a +1 to roll sense motive. That sounds like what you're trying to do.
Yes.
All right, sweet. So you are going to roll a perception check. Give yourself that +1.
Sweet. Oh, lame. I got a 12.
All right. Yeah, you're not sure. You do, as you're paying attention to it now, notice that he is not acting like this when he talks to Ip or Manawanui.
Akalupu Jr.
Yes, sorry. I need to get back to actually remembering people's names. It's been too long, guys. All right. So, you guys are going to push it into the ocean?
Yeah. And let's push into the ocean. I mean, Akalupu
Yes.
Going to be my stand-in.
Yeah, Akalubu, Burn Bright, and Ip push the bullet into the ocean after tying some ropes to it. And you guys begin the long process of hauling it around the island over to the village.
So y'all keep calling the creature a bullet? Is that right? Not the bullet isn't what killed it. It is a bullet?
Correct.
Like
It
Bullet
is.
Bill?
It's spelled slightly different. It's Bullette.
Okay.
But yes, it
I'm
is.
like, it's an armored creature that floats, and it's called a bullet, like Bullet Bill?
Yeah, kind of, yeah.
Okay, cool. That's what I'm picturing, and I'm going to keep doing.
Go for it. But it's you should be able to see it on Roll20, this giant, like, armored creature here. All right, so yeah, you push it into the ocean and begin the long and arduous endeavor of dragging it all the way around the island over to the village where you actually landed. Well, your parents actually landed when you first came to the island. So let's get y'all to that map.
Bullet.
Is the screen just all black for you right now or something?
I was just asking, I was like, should I be able to see something?
Are you
On
zoomed in
Yes.
really far?
No, I'm zoomed out all the way.
Is it just like a
Oh,
black
there's a
screen
black
or?
square.
Yeah, I
No,
have
it's
like,
Okay.
like a black square surrounded by
so
sand.
that's
have,
probably because she has no
token.
character in the scene.
oh, okay. I'll just look at Jason.
I don't know why it should still see. She should be able to see it given the settings that I have on the page, though. That's weird.
It's weird. It's like there's a background, like of the sand color, but then where any of the stuff would be is a black square.
Strange. Try refreshing the page to see if that helps, and then if it doesn't,
It just do that. But that's okay. Like,
all right. Does
I
this
can
make
see
a difference?
Jason's computer from here.
Did that make a difference? I dropped a token on for you.
I'm refreshing now again.
And your token should have vision. Does.
No, it is still the same.
All right, weird. Well, we'll see if that fixes in the next map. If not, we'll have to troubleshoot a bit. But for now, we're going to be changing
No
maps.
worries. Thank you.
All right, let's go over to here. Get rid of that stuff. And, oop.
Oh, while the bullet is dying, I want to use my free spell slot to cast Organ Sight as we're studying it, so I can see inside of him.
All right, so what does that do?
You see the target as though it's dissected and arrayed before you.
Oh, nice. All right, so you do that, and you see that the creature fits what you would expect largely. Various normal organs, lungs and pancreas and stomach and brain. It's a very small brain, but it's there. Stuff like that. But one thing that you're seeing that is very unusual is that you're seeing these large pink crystals that are arrayed throughout its body.
Oh, pink crystals. Guys, this is interesting. There's some sort of extra organ in there
Huh.
that I believe would be related to the floating ability.
Yeah, that would make sense. It's got to have something, because, especially we see now, this thing is freaking heavy. There's no way it just, floats around like we see them doing. What are the organs like? Are they like sack thingies?
They appear to be crystal in structure. I want to roll medicine. Organ Sight says, when you cast a spell, attempt a special recall knowledge check using medicine to spot and discern a vital organ.
All right.
Let's see. Let's see what medicine does for me.
So I would imagine that's largely more for like being able to kill something more effectively. So you would identify like its heart or its lungs or something like that.
Yes. I got a 26.
All right. So you definitely spot those. I don't know if it would give you any more information on the crystals though. I mean, I guess they would.
So it would give me the ability to have a bonus when I'm fighting it, but let me see. Oh, where'd it go?
All right. Well, Jason's looking that up. Molly, can you see the current map, or are you still in the dark?
It did switch to a blue background instead of like a sand colored background. So let me just refresh again. Nope. Now it's a blue background with like a black rectangle instead of a black square.
Let me try something. Let's see. Represents Mako. Controlled by. How do I do that in the character sheet? Let's see. All players. Edited and controlled by Molly. Save changes. Did that do anything?
No, we're still at the same.
Let's try turning this off. And then back on and then back off, technically. So I assume that did nothing. Color is white. Our war is
so my
off.
screen looked exactly like Molly's second screen when you turned on whatever you just turned on.
Yeah. Is it back to normal now,
Except
though?
it's normal now, but I could just see the black square, except my token was on top of it.
Yeah. Yeah, well, I just turned dynamic lighting off and then on again. I do this. Turn on. And then do this. All right, has that done anything?
Let me try and reload it to see if anything goes different. No, I'm sorry, my friend.
All right, let's turn Fog of War back off. All right, that should be back to normal. Other thing you could maybe try is like try different browsers. Like if you're using Chrome, try Firefox or vice versa. And if that doesn't work, we'll have to like sit down and get this figured out at some point. Jason, were you able to check what you needed?
Yeah, it only lets me do additional piercing damage.
Yeah, that's kind of what I thought. You could roll medicine to try and maybe glean some information from what you saw, though.
That's what I did roll.
I thought that I thought that was just for like perceiving vital organs, right?
Yeah, it's so the spell says. So that was part of the spell, but I can also just cast a medicine check, is what you're saying.
Yeah, basically just roll medicine. You've seen these strange crystals, and you can try to glean some information from looking at them.
Let's go, big money. 21.
All right. So you notice that there's a lot of tissue that's very densely packed around them. So maybe that gives you some information. But this is definitely unique. You have not seen this kind of a crystalline organ in a creature before.
That makes me think it's almost like it can flex it like a muscle. But
yeah. And like maybe because it's like dead and its life force is draining, it can't like, I don't know, like flex them or whatever it's doing. That could make sense.
I wonder if we can try to harvest the crystals.
Yeah, we definitely should try to get those guys out. Because, I mean, if there's no like weird baggy things for like gas sacks or something, then it's gotta be like these weird crystals. All right.
How do we get in past the armor? Someone's gonna have to climb in there. Or is the belly soft?
Belly is softer. But there are like with enough time and patience, the armor can be removed as well. That's why in the past, whenever they've hunted bullets, it has been largely for those armored plates, because your tribe uses various monster parts in crafting. Whether it's armor or weapons or other things of that kind, buildings even. All right, so you guys eventually make it to this beach, and oh, Burnbright! I said earlier Burnbright couldn't fly. He can. Sorry, that's my bad. I forgot. Burnbright can fly, same as Ip. So Ip and Burnbright, y'all gonna fly back to the village and get the moms?
Yeah, I'm excited. I want to tell them what we've learned. See if they know anything about it.
All right. So Burnbright and Ip are gonna take off, leaving the rest of the group here. So what are the rest of you going to do in the meanwhile? You probably want to pull the creature up onto the beach as much as possible, so it doesn't float away with the tide.
Probably a good idea. Wait, who all left and who's staying?
Burnbright and Ip left. So Gur, you, and Akalupu Jr. are the only ones remaining. I guess technically also Reginald.
Akalupu is going to try to help Gur find things to like cover himself with or fix himself or whatever.
Oh, to cover Gur with.
Yes.
That was a quick question. I kind of forgot how I did that one ritual that brought those hearts back to life. Was that something that I could do subtly? I don't think it was. I think it was like had to be a whole...
you made a pentagram with like I don't think it was candles. It was hearts. You made a pentagram out of the hearts that Gur had been pulling out of the local monkey population, and used some of your own blood
or something.
Yeah, you used some of your own blood.
That one, yeah. But that's not something I could do on the DL.
No, it would be pretty obvious.
Just send, hey, Akalupu, you need to go forage in the jungle for like a few hours. Don't worry about it.
I mean, you could send Akalupu and Gur off to go, find stuff and theoretically try to repair Gur. Like you could try to sell that.
Is there still like blood coming from the thing itself, or is it pretty much coagulated at this point?
By now, yeah, it's not actively bleeding. All of the blood has either been drained or has coagulated.
Yeah, I don't think I have enough blood to make a pentagram that size. Also, it's still in the water.
Well, the pentagram was not made of blood. You used blood in the actual ritual after making the pentagram.
Oh, okay. Well, then, hey, Akalupu, before you go off into the jungle, because that's where you'd find the best material to fix Gur, could you and Gur pull this this heifer up onto the beach?
Akalupu's gonna try.
All right, you're able to like pull it kind of up. It's like partly on the beach.
But it's still got some like ropes and stuff attached to it, right?
Yeah, it's still got ropes attached. You could like tie it off to something. It's now enough grounded that like since this is high tide currently, it's unlikely that it would float away unless the next tide came in even higher. And eventually it will be grounded entirely as the tide goes out.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. Akalupu's gonna tie it off just to be on the safe side.
Smart.
Well, Akalupu, you should probably go find some tree canopy material to repair your friend there. That's the best and most durable material.
I need you to go into the forest and find a blue flower with red thorns.
I need you to go find a bird. It's called a snipe.
Can I try and roll some
Deception?
Well, I'm not trying to deceive him because there are some stuff in the forest. I'm just trying to persuade him.
I
If
guess
that makes a difference.
I guess I would let you roll diplomacy instead of deception.
I don't know why I made such a big deal. I have the exact same in both.
All right, well then roll deception because that's really what this should be.
Okay. Deception. 18.
All right. Akalupu's what's your general DC for that? Let me see.
I'm just trying to add a little extra honey onto my words, you know? I'm sure he like listens to me anyway. I raised
Right, like
him.
you get deception bonus points if you're their mom.
Yeah.
Exactly.
Yeah.
What did you get again? 18?
18.
All right, so that is below your deception DC, Akalupu. So handle that how you want to.
Yeah, I mean, Akalupu knows she's lying, but he's also used to it. He's like, yeah, and just kind of goes, leaves.
All right. As a quick question, the thing is not grounded enough to actually make any sort of pentagram. Is that correct?
Well, as you saw when you made the pentagram out of hearts, you don't have to it doesn't have to be contiguous or made out of anything in particular. You could make a pentagram out of stones, and that would work just as well under the water as above it.
In that case, I'm going to go set about doing that.
All right, so you're going to try to make a pentagram under the entire creature?
Oh, that's a good point.
You going to try to remove part of it? I mean, you could start cutting into it. You got a knife.
Yeah, but that leaves signs. You know what I mean? That's a visible sign.
That is true.
You're like, oh, what happened to this part of
it was the seagulls. They came in, tried to eat it. You couldn't drive them off fast enough.
It doesn't have to be contiguous. So I'm going to do my best with what I can, maybe nudging a few parts if I'm able. Yeah, to make the entire pentagram underneath it.
All right. So that takes quite some doing. You're definitely starting to worry if you have sent off Akalupu for long enough, or even if potentially Burnbright and Ip could return. But you do manage to get it done, and no one has returned yet.
Okay. And now I'm going to... There's an incantation, correct? Got what I did, to be honest. I knew it involved cutting myself. I knew it involved pentagram.
Yeah, and there was a chant as well. Pentagram.
Also, the reference material, just, you know.
That's true. You got that book sitting around somewhere still.
But you see, that's very unpleasant to do.
But your memory is fine. So like your character would remember what to do. So yeah, so you need to basically cut yourself to give the blood offering and then do a specific chant.
I'm going to do that.
All right. So you do that. You cut yourself and you start the chant. When you feel just this like absolute lurch in the pit of your stomach, that is just intense. Like you double over and you almost vomit.
So this is much different than the heart situation.
Yeah, this is it's a similar kind of tweak, however you want to say it, but way stronger.
Like I'm physically not able to continue.
You can try to continue if you want to try and push through it, but you're like doubled over and about to vomit.
I think. Okay. I think I'm getting some ideas about how this works. So I'm gonna stop and also try and quickly get rid of any signs of any sort of occult activity.
All right, so you kind of brace yourself as best as you can, pull your hand away from the pentagram, and kick away a few stones to break it, and you're able. You finally begin to recover and are able to like stand upright again. But yeah, it was quite the experience. You don't feel good about what would have happened if you had continued.
I just need somebody else's hand. No.
All right, so you're gonna just destroy the rest of the pentagram, try to erase the evidence.
Yeah, make it not look like someone was trying to do something interesting.
Yeah. All right, so yeah, you do that. Just kick the rocks around, try to move them back, kind of where they were before. You had fairly good timing, not too long after you've been, sat on a rock, trying to recover, trying to get your stomach to settle back down. Akalupu returns with Gur. What were you up to out in the woods, Akalupu?
I mean, we're just kind of like looking for stuff to like either help repair him or like at least repair his like skin suit. Maybe find like a baby dinosaur that we can steal its skin from or something.
Right. Well, his skin is not actually flesh or like leather. It's made of fabric.
Yeah.
So you're not going to find fabric in the woods. You could, if you want to like make something out of leaves, you could do that, I guess.
Yeah, I was kind of thinking just like repair it, kind of like a ghillie suit.
Okay, that works. So yeah, so Akalupu and Gur come back. Gur is now like decked out like he's in a ghillie suit. He's got leaves and twigs sticking everywhere. He's still swinging his detached arm around, just messing around with it, being like, "Look how much further I can reach now." When he's not doing that, he's also just like randomly trying to crawl around and be sneaky because it's a ghillie suit. He's invisible now. He's a ninja. Yeah, you should return, Manawanui. Did you hole up in one of the old cabins? Well, I guess they're not old now. They've been kind of like renovated. I think nobody has moved back in, but it's set up to where it's like a seasonal fishing village at this point. But the cabins are currently empty if you wanted to be in one of those, or you could be sitting on a rock somewhere.
Yes, I'm going to be probably in one of the cabins.
Would you like to put yourself in one of the cabins then?
I would. I feel like that makes a difference. before I go in, could I like cast around with a perception check? Or
Sure.
just-
What are you looking for?
Alright. I don't know, signs of other life that's not, animals in nature.
Die. I'm sure you don't have a 1 out of 3 chance of dying.
Just signs of that they've been disturbed. I got a 22.
Alright, you're looking for signs that what has been disturbed? That someone has been in these cabins, or
recently habitated them, and might still be habitating one of them.
No. So you look in the fire pit there. It's all just cold and dead embers. There's, the only footprints are around seem to be the ones that you guys have made. It seems that no one has probably been to this little seaside village for a few months at least.
Sweet.
All right. So Agalubu, you and Gur return. You do not see Mono Anui. Hey, Akalubu! Sorry, go ahead.
No, you're good.
Kura's
I
like...
was just going to say I was walking up to it.
Okay. Yeah, Kura just comes up behind you and says, I wish he had bit off my leg, because then I could kick my own butt.
Oh my god, it's actually Gur.
Hey, I guess you do have short legs. I guess that would be the only way you could do that. Akalubu's going to just kind of like lean against the thing.
All right.
And I guess, I don't know, kind of start looking over the scales and kind of start trying to make a mental game plan for opening the creature up.
Yeah, so you see that, if you're able to like pry your way between the armor plates, that there are gaps in there. So while it will be a somewhat cumbersome process, it seems that its exoskeleton is not, for the most part, attached to its internal skeleton. And so by essentially skinning its thick hide, you should be able to remove the plates that are over top of it. So yeah, it definitely seems doable.
Nice.
So yeah, you spend some time doing that. Do you end up looking for Mono Anui, or are you just gonna chill and wait for people to return?
It's gonna chill. Akalubu's not even sure that Mono Anui is stuck around. Like, Mono Anui has a tendency to just like kind of disappear, so
Yeah.
it's usually not worth the effort.
Wow.
All right, so after probably 20-30 minutes, you see the unicorns appearing as dots on the horizon. The ones that can fly are doing so. The others are carrying those who cannot. And so, in due time, everyone lands. That's everyone. And you see an unfamiliar face among the group. Molly, would you like to describe yourself, or shall I?
Well, wait a second. How did I roll up?
So
happening?
you, the Burnbright and Ip went back to the village and met with their mothers and have returned to the group now. And you were carried along with them, so you rode on one of the unicorns who is capable of flying.
Okay. I have blue hair and a blue cloak to disguise the shape of my body and any kind of shit that I may or may not have strapped to my body. And
That's not suspicious.
yeah. Yeah, I'm just keeping it to myself for now. Yeah, she's just kind of like eyeing everybody, suspicious, keeping her cards to her chest.
All right. Yeah, and so Burnbright and Ip, when you guys arrived back at the village, you saw this person who you two actually know her. This is Mako. She is one of the women of the village. You know a bit about her. She's fairly cagey. Doesn't open up easily, it sounds like. So you don't know too much about her background other than that she was brought on by Burnbright's mother, Sunbeam, as a bit of a what's the like when you're a blacksmith and you study under another blacksmith?
Like apprentice?
Yes, I was blanking on the term. Thank you. As an apprentice in alchemy, and has turned out to have quite the skill for it.
Do you know how long I've been studying as an apprentice under Sunbeam? Or is that up to me?
Yeah, up to you mostly. If I were to guesstimate, I would say somewhere between like 4 to 6 years.
Cool. Okay.
And your character would be somewhere in their young 20s.
Yes.
So like 18 to 25, but you can pick wherever you want to be within there.
Yeah, I guess like 22-ish.
Cool.
Yeah. Yeah, so then I was like old enough to leave wherever I was, show up here, and then be being trained by Sunbeam for a while.
Yeah.
But I'm not here to make friends. I'm here to learn alchemy. So somebody was like, "Oh my gosh, like you should totally come have lunch with us." And I was like, "No thanks. I eat gruel alone."
There you go. So of course, since she's been training under Sunbeam, Ip and Burnbright, you know her, but Mono Anui and Akalupa, you've never met her since you spend most of your time up in the tower in the middle of nowhere, being all antisocial. All right. So yeah, the group arrives, people dismount, and yeah, Burnbright leads them over. Yeah, so we got it, but yeah, like we were saying, like Ip here looked inside of it with like his magic stuff, and there's like glowing pink crystals or something inside, and like after it died, especially when Agalupu was like slurping its blood out with his sword thing, it was like getting heavier and stuff. So yeah, that kind of catches you up on, what we know about it so far.
Yeah, you're welcome. Using that organ sight skill is gross, let me tell you.
Well, if you think that's gross, you probably won't want to be here for the next part, because we're going to have to, like, properly dissect this thing now.
Well, I've already seen all of it, so...
But have you smelled it?
Oh, that's a good point.
Well, luckily, it's fairly fresh, so it wouldn't be as bad as it, like, could be. All right, so Blackrock and Starfire are gonna chill. They don't have too much to do here. Sunbeam, however, is going to get started. Marco, do you want to join in on the dissecting?
Yeah, for sure. I'm right there.
As a reference, Mononui is going to come out and watch the process.
All right. Starfire greets you. Hey, Mononui, how did the fight go? I heard that you almost got crushed or something.
No, I bravely leaped upon its back so that we couldn't lose it again. And also the safest place from the bullet itself, because it seemed to have an unhealthy attraction to me.
It did. So basically bullets have like a preferred food, and we rolled randomly to see what that was, and it turned out to be elves.
Yeah, and it can't eat you if you're on its back.
Very true.
Sound logic.
You're glossing over the fact that you would have died if not for my shielding abilities. So I'm gonna take some of this glory.
Yeah. The point that helped.
All right. So, Sunbeam is gonna come up to it, and she's got a large pack. Sunbeam has always been incredibly strong, given her frame and her very shy personality. So she has just this huge pack, or chest, which she opens up and starts pulling tools out of, bone saws and the like. She says, Junior, can you come over here? I think we're gonna, need your strength and stuff to help with this.
Aye, just tell me what to do.
All right, thank you. Oh, I don't think you two have met or whatever. This is Mako. She's my apprentice. She's learning alchemy. She's, quite talented.
Oh, so you get to make the fireball potions.
Fireball, acid ball, lightning ball, any kind of balls you need.
Nice.
Yeah, and you also are going to be, I think, more or less one of the second healer of the group, because you also have some good healing stuff that can help with people. So
that's true. I got hella elixirs as well. Elixir of life, comprehension elixir, infiltrator's elixir.
Oh,
it's complicated. You wouldn't get it.
Hey, you're probably right. But all I need to know is where I need to throw it or what I need to do with it. So, Akalupu.
Yeah, all you need to know is when I say catch, you should probably catch.
Hey, Akalupu puts his hand up and shakes. It's like, well, I'm the kind of the local strongman, so yeah, just tell me where I need to throw it, and I usually can get it there.
I kind of reluctantly shake her hand, but it's really a weak handshake from a little weak nerd.
Yeah, and Manawanui is male, by the way. I think
Akalupu.
Sorry, I will eventually get your two names straight. Akalupu is male. The only two the only two females of the group are now you and Manawanui, actually saying the right name this time.
You're right.
What up?
Sorry about that. Got my pronouns mixed up.
No worries. I just figured you'd rather know.
Yeah.
Yeah, Akalupu basically looks like if The Rock actually had hair.
Exactly.
Okay. Dang.
Oh yeah, I could do this to show. I don't know if Molly. Hopefully you can see this.
I can. Awesome.
Yeah. So that's Akalupu.
And I'm just calling you Junior in my notes because that shit's easier to spell.
Yes, and that's what he goes by. So that's perfect. And then for those who haven't seen it, this is Mako.
Nice.
And so shouldn't Manawanui recognize my name and be like?
So this is Junior. It was Senior who did all the stuff with Mako.
But Manawanui is the same.
Oh yes, sorry. I will get your two names straight eventually.
Akalupu
is Anna. Manawanui is Abe. Eventually I'll get them straight. I'm sorry. Yes. Manawanui, you would perk up at hearing the name Mako. And Mako, you know that Manawanui and the parents of these people were the last ones to have seen your father before he mysteriously disappeared after escaping from prison.
Wait.
Sorry, Abe, I didn't mean to jump down your throat on your choices.
No, you're good. I was gonna bring it up, but I figured since I'm back with the other old people.
Yeah, but you hear Mako, and yeah, that definitely when you're hearing the introduction and Sunbeam introduce Mako, that would definitely get your attention.
Well, what I was gonna do is while they're all dissecting down there, I was gonna ask. Not Burn Bright, because she's down there. But Night.
Starfire? Blackrock?
Starfire and Blackrock, of course. I was going to ask them, hey, isn't this the name of that one guy who, disappeared in the woods? Totally wasn't annihilated by a giant fireball.
All right.
by
And-
your sister wife.
all right. I'm assuming you don't actually say all of that. Do you actually say the totally not annihilated bit?
No, because that
as a
would
reminder,
kind of be a
these two were not with you. They stayed back at the village when you guys left, so they don't know.
Wasn't that the name of that suspicious character who escaped from? Well, I assumed at some point Yasuka told them about how she epically just like pulverized.
I mean, that's an assumption.
Okay. Well, wasn't isn't that the name of that sly, maybe misunderstood fellow who
By the way,
when
we
first came to this island?
had a retrospective after the game just to like talk about stuff. We always do that at the end of a campaign, just to chat about how it's gone and things like that. Mako was definitely going to betray us and was like infected by the evil spirits and stuff. So when he's saying all of these things, Mako did deserve to be killed, and it saved us a lot of trouble. We saved our group so much trouble by just killing him.
He was a victim of an evil curse.
He was redeemed in holy fire.
Just like JB. All right.
Y'all killed JB?
No, JB walked into the beam of light from the Star Mother and disappeared in a flash of light.
Okay.
We didn't kill him.
And wait, where's Yasuka now?
Yasuka went with Junior. Yasuka went with Akalupu Senior and PPOP.
Oh, right. Okay.
So she is one of the parents who is currently MIA.
Anywho, but back to the story. I did ask in a toned down way. Wasn't that the name of that fly fellow who we found when we first came to this island? Like the very first person?
So BlackRock says, I remember that. Like we heard he escaped from prison after we got back to the village and stuff, and he just disappeared after that. Nobody's sure what happened to him. I guess this girl is his daughter or something, and her mother named her Mako as an homage or something.
Mono, I knew it's going to be very cool on the outside, but on the inside, it's going to be wiping away that sweat, like that meme. The person's just sweating buckets. Anyway. Interesting.
Yeah, she's been training under Sunbeam. She's been really good,
Interesting.
Yeah, she's better at alchemy than Sunbeam is, honestly.
Was how long has she been her apprentice for? Was this before PPOP and company left?
How long were you apprenticing, Molly?
5 years.
All right. With 5 years, then this would have been after people left.
Okay.
Because they left when Akalupu Jr. was still pretty young, kind of 5 to 8-ish. And since y'all are in your 20s now, that would mean that she started apprenticing after.
Okay. Interesting. Hopefully one day, hopefully his absence hasn't caused her too much consternation.
I mean, it's definitely been hard, but
I mean, it's her dad.
Yeah. But the village kind of chipped in and made sure that they were all right. So it's not like she was orphaned on the streets or something.
A dad. She gained a family when you think about it.
Yeah, I mean, I guess I don't think she never even met her father, because he disappeared when her mother was pregnant. So I don't know. She doesn't like to talk about stuff that much. So I don't know. I try not to pry because, like, I'm worried it would be like a touchy subject or whatever. Oh, thing I should clarify, just in case you're confused by all of their accents. Silicon Valley, everyone, all of the unicorns on Silicon Valley had Valley Girl / Tech Bro accents. So,
Oh no, I'm getting it. That makes total sense. When I was hearing what's his name, Burn Bright's, like, I almost complimented his like surfer dude accent when his mom showed up and she's like, oh my god, and then like I love it. I love the choice.
Yeah. The only one who didn't pick up on it is Ip spent too much time with PPOP, evidently, and has a normal accent. Well,
Because Jason refuses to do a voice.
I mean, it's debatable whether or not that's the reason, but either way. All right.
I literally end up spending so much time focusing on the accent that I don't know what to say.
It's totally fair, and I never.
No, yeah, you should play however you want.
Yeah, and I'm terrible at accents, so I'm not going to encourage, like, try to tell people they should do accents because mine are awful.
But I appreciate it from you because you're playing so many different characters. So
yeah, exactly. I try
you're
to
doing great.
try to do
Thomas.
some voices. Not as good as Abe though. Abe got those accents on point. John Baptiste, that southern drawl he had, just chef's kiss.
Yeah, you have to go and do that deep Louisiana.
I tried. You
That is
remember
good.
how that went? It did not go well. That may or may not be the reason that I killed John Baptiste off. No, I'm just kidding. That's absolutely not the reason. All right. Yeah. So you guys begin the dissection. Let's get crafting checks from those involved. So Mako, Burn Bright, Sunbeam, Ip, are you gonna get involved?
Yeah, I'm getting my hands dirty.
Sweet. And then
I want to get into it.
let's get a strength check from Makalupu, because I imagine that's how you're assisting, not really doing any of the dissection. Well, you might be. You swing that bone saw especially hard.
Yeah. Someone may have to roll it for me. My computer died.
Okay, I'll roll it for you in a minute.
I got a 19.
Nice. All right, Burn Bright got 28.
I said it wasn't because I moved over there so I could lay down.
Okay, so I click the die, I should say, that's next to my crafting skill.
Yeah, and then it'll
And
pop
then
up a little window,
Uh-huh.
and then there should be like a little hand holding 2 dice. You click on that to actually roll it. All right, Akalupa, you got a
Okay,
19.
and- So I should just tell you the 29.
Yeah. All right,
Because
sweet.
that is including my, like, I do not. Thank
Yeah.
you.
Yeah, that'll include your bonus.
Okay, well, I got a 29, which is dope.
Nice. Yeah, that is a very good roll. Yeah, so
Perfect, because I wanted to impress all these people while I'm in front of them for the first time.
yeah.
So
no-
secretly, I'm like, oh, thank God.
yeah, you definitely do that. You probably like suggest something like, oh, hey, we could get through these parts easier if I use some of my acid to like burn through it so we don't have to cut through it. Stuff like that.
Yeah, but I'm more condescending about it.
Exactly. Why don't you just burn it with acid?
Everybody step aside. Let me use an acid bomb on this.
And then it works perfectly. Just like this precision little like square cut out of it, as if it was like a laser scalpel. All right, yeah. So dissection actually goes quite smoothly, and we are gonna do a bit of a not exactly a time skip, but we're going to be moving from encounter mode to downtime mode here. So at this point, you're gonna be working on various projects. Obviously, the people who are involved in the dissection are gonna start like taking it apart. You do that successfully. You're able to get all the parts out. One of the things that you get out of it, which are indeed everyone agrees quite unusual, are those crystals. They seem to be packed very tightly around with what Sunbeam describes as nerve fibers. And so you're able to extract the crystals. They don't seem to be anything like when you just extract them and touch them, like nothing weird happens. There's no like tingling. They're not like floating away or anything wild. They do seem to glow slightly as they're hit by sunlight, but then when you move them out of the sun, that glow quickly dissipates. Some initial observations like that, but then you take all the parts and start the process of shipping it back to the village and doing science on it. Mono and Nui, or I guess I should ask first. Well, I'll ask all of you. Mako, are you going to focus during this time period on helping with the research, or do you have other projects that you would like to pursue?
No, I want to research the crystals with the Sunbeam, if that's what she's doing.
Yes.
But I want to research the crystals for sure.
All right, cool. Burn Bright is going to be focused on that as well. Ip, how about you? What do you want to do over the next couple of weeks to months?
I would like to pray to the Great Mother and my spirit guide for guidance on how to manipulate these crystals into helping us.
All right.
I lock myself in my room with my books and set up an altar and fast.
Perfect. And we'll get to rolls in a bit after we establish what everyone is doing. So then, Akalupu, your strength is not necessarily as useful at this point, so you probably want to work on something else. What do you want to do in your downtime period?
Akalupu is gonna,
Do you want to start making? You want to start making like a boat out of the bullet's armor? Would be maybe something. And I'm not trying to tell you what to do. Just trying to give some suggestions.
No, I'm not gonna make rope this time. Akalupu will start you doing the strength part of trying to figure out whatever seems hardest.
Yeah.
He just kind of is going around and he's like, what can I, what do you want me to do? And just seeing what other people need him to do.
Yeah, and
I think
Sunbeam
Junior should try eating one of the crystals to see if it gives him bullet powers, and then he can pass it if it doesn't work.
So most of the crystals are far too large for that. The larger ones are honestly bigger than Akalupu is. There are a few small ones. There are a variety of sizes. There are some that are maybe thumb sized that Akalupu could try to swallow if you really wanted to go for that. Is that a thing you want to do, Akalupu?
I mean, if they have legit reasons, Akalupu will try it.
So you're gonna try to convince him of that, Ip?
I'm not. I'm still gonna. I'm gonna casually mention. They were inside the bullet. I wonder if they were inside a person. If they would help, and then go start praying.
Unless somebody really wants him to, Akalupu is not.
None of
Junior's not quite as free with his stomach as Akalupu Senior was.
Yeah. Well,
Takes one look at those pointy ass crystals covered in viscera and is like, I might wait until someone.
Yup. And none of the unicorns are gonna try to make you do it. So, all right. Then Sunbeam and Burn Bright, like I said, they'd been kicking around this idea. So they had a few rough drafts they'd kind of put together. So between that and obviously they'll recruit some other craftsmen. You're not doing this alone, Akalupu, and
that's good because Akalupu still has a 0 in crafting.
Yes. And BlackRock and Starfire will help as well. So cool. You'll work on trying to just some rough start to the boat. The skyboat. Mono Nui, what would you like to get up to?
So, quick question before I make that decision. So, I have an innate detect magic. Did I detect magic from those crystals?
Yes.
Oh. See, now I'm conflicted. I did want to spend time, reading my book and then writing down things I could remember / that were useful onto my wax tablets. but now I kind of want to help study the crystals. I couldn't like divide my time, could I?
Oh, yeah, I'll let you do that. You'll make less progress, obviously, in both areas, but you can divide your time.
Yeah, I'm gonna divide my time between those two things:
All right.
studying the crystals for their magical properties, and then also reading my book,
Nice.
writing down the things within that I find useful, and can remember.
All right, sounds good. So let's start with rolls. So let's start with Mako, and I think that's it. I'll roll for Burn Bright as well. Let's get some. What would it be to research? Do crafting or medicine. I think either would make sense.
I'm gonna roll crafting,
Cool.
get a 31.
Nice. You're killing the rolls tonight. All right, Burberry got a 25. And oh yeah, you're helping as well. So Monowanui, if we could get a roll from you as well.
Would that be crafting, or would that be some sort of lore?
Crafting or medicine. In your case, since you're looking at the magic side, you could also do Arcana.
I'm going to do. Oh. If I roll crafting, I will still discover magical things about it, correct?
You might, but it'll be less focused on that, so you're less likely to specifically learn the magical side of it.
All right, JK, then I'm just going to do Arcana. And can I use... Would ageless patience be something I could use for this?
Yeah.
Okay. So that gives me a +2. 23.
All right, nice. All right, so you guys start examining these crystals, running various experiments on them. You find that you can kind of get them to like do a little bit by putting them in salt water under certain circumstances, but it's a little bit inconsistent. You're not sure exactly why. Mono Anui, as you're studying the magic about them, you realize that the magic you're detecting from them are similar to gravity magic. That you've heard of. I don't believe you have any yourself, but some of these spells that can manipulate gravity, it would be what is the most similar school of magic from what you're seeing. Should make sense. Yeah, so you're able to chip away at that. Let's go on to Ip. Go ahead and roll probably religion, unless you had something else that you think would make sense for what you're doing.
Nah, that makes sense to me. I got a 30.
Dang. All right. So yeah, so you go in, you get out the talisman that you found at the tower. You do your fasting and prayers, and for the first few days, it feels as if nothing is happening. But then on the evening of the third day, you are sitting there. Praying to the, I forget, do you call her Star Mother like your mothers do? Great Coconut Tree like your dad did? Like, where are you landing on that name?
I began calling her the Great Mother over the past
Great Mother
few sessions. Kind of a melding of the two.
Yeah, and when you talked to her and asked about her name, she actually kind of suggested that as a fairly good one, because she said that she's been known by many names by many peoples. So you start to feel a fluttering in your chest, where you received the Great Mother's blessing, and you actually feel this warmth in your chest begins to spread from the point where you received the blessing up through your neck and into your head, and you feel it kind of like spread through basically the entire like upper torso and head. And this warm feeling is then followed by like a slight tingling, and then suddenly you feel as though you can hear a voice in your mind, and you hear the familiar familiar voice of the Great Mother, and she says, "Ah, you are truly one of my greatest disciples to have progressed so quickly." And as you open your eyes, you see floating before you the same similar blue figure that you saw in the tower. But now she seems to be walking, this ethereal blue figure seems to be kind of walking around the room, looking at this shrine that you've set up for her and everything else.
Great Mother, is that really you?
Yes, it is I. It is quite a feat you've accomplished to contact me in this way. Not many are strong enough to be able to reach out as you have.
I have devoted my life to the study of prayer and reaching spiritual enlightenment, so I'm glad to see that it's working.
Yes.
What advice do you have for me in our endeavor to your shrine?
Well, I unfortunately am not familiar with exactly what is going on currently. I heard a voice and I came in pursuit of that supplication, but I wasn't able to make out quite what you were saying. What is going on currently? I will, of course, help however I can.
We attempt to harness the floating powers of the bullet beast, but so far we've been unable to crack the riddle of the floating crystals.
I see. Floating crystals. Could you bring a sample to me?
Yes. Right now? You want me to do that as quickly as I can?
Yes, unfortunately, I doubt that we will be able to stay in contact for too long, but I will try to stay here for as long as I am able.
I'll be right back. I quickly don't even think about what I'm doing, just run out and start yelling for Burn Bright to bring me a crystal.
All right. So you do that. You notice that the
like
Star
a crazy
Mother.
Person.
Yes, and it's gonna get worse. You notice that as you're going, the figure goes with you, as if she's floating along alongside you. But yeah, so you start yelling, and Brimbird's like, "Whoa, what's up? You need one of like the crystals or whatever?"
Yes, right now. No time to waste. Hurry.
All right, bro. You want like a big one, like a little one? I got a bunch. And he's like holds up a couple of them.
Give me one the size of a basketball. They don't know what a basketball is.
Give me one the size of a conch shell. No, a coconut.
Yeah, coconut-sized one would be good.
All right. Let me see. Oh, here we go. Here, how's this one? And he holds up a pretty chunky one.
What do you think? And I hold it up to the Great Mother.
So you do that, and as you do, Burn Bright kind of like looks around for a second, and then suddenly his eyes go wide, and he like kneels down and is like, "Oh, Great Mother, I didn't see you there somehow." She says, "Worry not, my child. Now, here, let me see." And she looks at it. For a second, very, very critically. As you're doing this, the other unicorns and Mako, you guys are in the lab as well, and you see this going on. You see Burn Bright and you see Ip, but you do not see what they're doing or who they're talking to. So it looks like they're just, looking into empty space and being crazy people.
This is a load of barnacles.
This is why you don't get strange things inserted into your body. You go crazy.
Yeah. And so she looks at it, and Burnbright kind of like starts describing what they've learned so far, and she nods and listens. And after some time, she looks up and says, "Perhaps if you were able to harness the power of lightning, you might see these crystals become more effective." Now I'm afraid
electricity.
And you see that her figure is starting to figure. Now I'm afraid I must go. I know this must have been quite taxing for you to contact me like this, though I hope that we will speak again in the future. Please do be careful as you go and search for and she fades away mid-sentence.
Wait, how do I find the island?
She's gone, and you feel exhausted. Like, you feel like you just ran 2 marathons in a row. Your legs are shaking. You're like having trouble breathing. This clearly took quite a physical toll on you. It also doesn't help that you haven't eaten for like 2.5 days.
Yeah, I was gonna say the 3-day fast probably is not great for energy levels.
Nui's gonna go up to I almost called him Burnbright. I have no idea why. To Epoipip and be like, "What were you talking about? Lightning and?"
Well, you didn't hear anything about lightning.
Oh, he didn't say anything about the lightning?
Yeah, the Star Mother said that, and you did not see or hear the Star Mother.
I muttered it.
Oh, you muttered it?
I muttered it in response.
Okay.
So he could have heard that. Or she could have heard that.
Lightning?
Yes,
Also,
the Great Mother commands to harness the power of lightning to unlock the crystals.
So
I say lightning.
Huh.
I got lightning. I got lightning right here. And I open up my cloak and pull out one of my bottled lightning. Moderate.
All right. Oh.
I mean, wait. So you saw? You talking about back at the tower? You told? I'm a little confused, buddy. You're gonna have to help me out here.
I mean, she was right here. Did you not see her?
Yeah, I saw her.
Huh. And do you both feel this drained feeling?
No, I feel fine.
I am gonna close my eyes for a bit.
Yeah, and you do that, and like you fall asleep almost immediately, despite the fact that you're like sitting on the ground, like in a crouch, holding a crystal. You close your eyes, start to lay down, and by the time like you wake up, someone has moved you back to your room. It's the next day. All right, so everyone else still there with the crystal.
I look at his passed out body kind of disgusted, and I'm like, anyway, and I turn to Sunbeam and I go, Mr. Sunbeam, like, should we listen to this ghost story? Do you want me to try my lightning? We've been working on it for 3 days, but we haven't tried lightning.
Yeah, I mean, it's as good as anything. I mean, I guess we could start with one of the smaller crystals just in case it, like, explodes or whatever.
All right, as you command.
All right.
Should I decrease my number of bottled lightning? Should I roll?
No. So you guys probably want to do this in the courtyard instead of inside. And yeah, go ahead and reduce one of your bottled lightnings.
Well,
do you want to use the whole thing, part of it?
If you didn't want to use it at all, if you wanted to save it, I have shocking grasp, but you could try first. It's not lightning like
That's
proper,
true.
but you know. So we could save.
Do you want to be holding a crystal that you're electrocuting, though?
That's a good question.
That you don't know what's going to happen when you do that.
But the needs of the group come first, you know.
No, I got hella.
You got what?
I've got hella. I've got 3 of those, and I can make more like every single day.
Right.
Every time we prep. I don't know how often that happens.
So basically, every long rest. So normally that would be like when you settle down for the night. In the morning, you'd be able to make more.
Right.
So it's essentially every 24 hours ish.
Well, in that case, try it.
Yeah, we should all like
away.
hide behind something, I think, and then I'm gonna chuck it.
Sweet. All right, give me an attack roll. It's gonna be pretty hard to miss, but
I'm gonna do the die icon next to that's in my bottled lightning moderate. Let's see. And I rolled a 26.
Nice. Oh yeah, you hit it dead on. Like the crystal. You pick one that's kind of the size of a fist or so, and you just smack it right dead on. If that was, a target, it would have been a bullseye. And the lightning.
And I want to be clear that I am hiding behind something. Like I peeked out to throw it, but I'm hiding behind something, and I think maybe we all should. Yeah,
Burn Bright and Sunbeam will pull out their tower shields, so you can kind of hunker down behind those.
Cool.
Mono is going to do likewise.
All right. Are you hunkering down behind Sunbeam or Burn Bright?
I'm behind Sunbeam.
All right, so probably Burn Bright then?
Yes.
All right, so you do that. Go ahead and roll me diplomacy again.
Me?
Yeah.
Getting nervous. 19.
All right. So you do that and kind of like hunker down behind him, maybe like grab his shoulders or something. And he's like squirming a little bit. Like he's trying to hide it, but you can tell he's still acting like really weird, like and uncomfortable. In a way that he had never done before.
Like, so we're talking before I get, before I jumped onto the back of the bullet, everything was chill.
Well,
and now he's like...
Not necessarily that exact point, but you can definitely say before you hunted the bullet, he did not act like this. And since then, he's been doing that. Like, you've noticed it in the lab, too. Like, he's just acting like a little squirrely whenever he's around you.
A little squirrely. I don't like it.
Oh, maybe he has a crush.
Or maybe he's plotting my demise.
I think that's called anxious attachment style.
Maybe he's afraid you're going to attract more bullets since that one was all over you.
All good theories.
He's just in fear for his life. I'm gonna say, I'm gonna say, would you stop squirming?
Oh, sorry. He tries to stop. All right, so the flask, the alchemist's lightning hits dead on, and there's a thunderclap and a flash of light. And when it clears, you can see that the crystal is not there. And you look around for a minute, it takes a minute, but you see that the crystal is actually floating up like 20 feet off the ground and is slowly descending. It's currently glowing fairly brightly, but is becoming dimmer over time. So, all right. So that's the science side of what you figure out. Let's go ahead and Akalupu, why don't we get go a strength check since you said you're not doing the crafting side of working on the boat.
Yes, that is correct. Just a straight strength roll.
Yeah.
14.
All right, you're pretty helpful. Like you go around, you kind of follow your mantra of as long as you feed me, you just need to point me in the direction of what I need to get done.
I don't make things worse.
Yeah, no, you're definitely helpful. Like, you're able to help them heft large pieces into place and whatever else they need. And in return, I mean, you'd have gotten fed anyway, but I don't know if Mako is like willing to cook for any of you guys. Sunbeam obviously will cook quite a bit. That might be why you're so good at cooking, Mako, because Sunbeam is well known as a cook.
Cool. Yeah, I mean, I'll be supporting Sunbeam if she needs a sous chef. Obviously, I would do anything that she's instructing me to do.
Nice. All right. So yeah, I mean, obviously this applies to everyone, but you're all very well fed. Very very talented cooks available for this food, so everything is seasoned and cooked, and meals are put together where they're delicious and nutritious, so everyone is quite happy.
Pretty rude of Ip to be constantly religiously fasting.
Right. Yeah, Ip's just like smelling those cupcakes cooking in the other room and just being like, no, I must be strong.
Be strong.
Exactly. And then Manoa Nui, what are you doing with the rest of your free time? You said you're continuing to try and work on that book.
Yeah, I'm working on that book, working my way through it. If there's any other incantations or anything like that I can like discern, I'm testing those suckers out.
Okay.
And then I'm writing down my findings on my own clay tablet. I think I said wax before, but I don't know if we have wax.
I don't think you guys have gotten like bees or anything. So I don't know that you have a good source of wax. So yeah, probably clay. And you didn't you have a blank book that you got from somewhere?
Oh, I did. I'm actually writing it down in a different section in there. Yes.
Yeah, I think it, like Topple gave it to you, or maybe the unicorns. I forget exactly where you got it, but I think you do have a blank
parchment
book
from somewhere.
Yeah.
Oh, and also I think I was manufacturing some parchment from cowhide.
Yeah, no, you'd figured out how to make parchment, not paper, and you hadn't figured out how to bind books. So your own stuff is largely just parchment scrolls at this point.
Yeah. All right. So that's what I'm using.
All right. So let's get some will saves.
Oh Lord.
Let's do 3 will saves.
All right. 13, 31. That's a lot better.
That's a little bit better.
And 22.
All right. So, yeah, you have some mixed days. Like, you start out and maybe you're still kind of like weakened from when you tried to do the ritual on the bullet and just are not able to kind of like power your way through the effects of the book. But over time, you definitely are able to make some progress, and you're starting to piece together a little bit more about this guy who wrote the book, Akbar the Mad. And you find out that he is actually also of elven descent, though you don't know it by that name. You actually don't know what an elf is. But you're able to pick up that from various disjointed stories and anecdotes in the book that he, at least similarly to you, has a very long lifespan. We'll put it that way. You don't necessarily know he's an elf, but you do know that he has similar experiences to you, where you just have been aging much slower than everyone around you. And you start to piece together some of his like motivations for initially starting to look into the necromantic sciences, and you see that he, through his long lifespan, had a rather relatable experience where his friends and companions were so much more short-lived than he was, that he was seeing generations of them die before his eyes, leaving him alone over and over, and him having to try and find new friends and new lovers and all of these things. but only to have them eventually crumble around him. And you see that it seems that his motivation was to be able to extend the life of his friends and loved ones, perhaps indefinitely, similar to his own. And that was where he started to dabble in these dark arts. In terms of finding new spells or rituals, you feel like you keep almost getting there, but especially with your attentions divided, every time you think you've learned something and you wrap up the book, the knowledge seems to escape you, as if a half-remembered nightmare.
Quick question. This fella doesn't happen to have like a bird companion, does he?
He does not.
Okay. just curious.
Yeah, he also does not seem to have, at least anything that has been mentioned, he doesn't seem to have like an other worldly presence that is, a major part of his magical abilities either. It's a strange idea that you've never run into before. He wasn't born with magic. He wasn't gifted magic by a patron. It seems that he was able to discern the secret weavings of magic that are behind the veil of reality, the flows of ether and magical currents, and learned through knowledge alone ways to manipulate them to do his bidding.
I'm gonna make several humming noises like that.
Yeah.
And that's not mentioned in the book how he discovered these.
No, at least not that you found so far. But as you know, just like reading a few pages in the book is exhausting. Especially, like I said, with you working on other things at the same time, it is very slow going. You've definitely, like, if you were to take the pages that you've read and just go straight through without all of the strange amnesia that seems to come with reading the book, you would have maybe gotten through a tenth of the book. But with you having to reread passages over and over, you've barely scratched the surface. But you every time you like flip to just a random page, it's so indecipherable and usually gives you just this massive migraine, where it feels as if spikes of ice are stabbing into the backs of your eyeballs, that you've largely given up on that approach and are trying to slowly dig your way through from the front.
Sounds like a pleasant experience.
Oh yeah, no, it's horrible. Like every day when people, you still only sleep for 4 hours instead of the 8 that everyone else does. So like every day, when you wrap that up and then go out to start working with other people, you're just like bleary-eyed, bloodshot. You look terrible. You've probably been coming up with some sort of excuse about not sleeping well.
Can I also try one more thing? So can I do that whole pentagram experiment, but instead of my own blood, just like kill an animal and see if that doesn't cause have the same effect, but doesn't cause the soul draining feeling?
So you try that, and using animal blood does not seem to be effective at all. Like you start the chant and it just does nothing.
I noticed you said animal blood there. I find where Timmy... I'm just kidding. I affect Timmy just to kill him. No, was it Timmy or Jimmy?
I think it was Timmy. But I also think we changed his name like 3 times since his actual death.
Yeah, he was an unimportant fellow. He has more relevance in death than he did life.
Exactly.
So I did.
Timmy knows a thing or two about shocking grasp and avoid using that when possible.
Indeed. All right. Well, we've been going for a bit over 2 hours. I imagine people are ready to go ahead and wrap up for today.
Sounds good to me.
Sweet.
Yeah.
All right. Then we will wrap up as we always do. Akalupu, what have you learned?
Akalupu has learned that the he's good at helping with strong stuff.
There you go. Akalupu has learned that his muscles just keep growing.
Yes.
All right. What about Mono Anui? What have you learned?
Mono Anui learns that rash actions have consequences. And those consequences could be a little girl growing up without her father.
Yeah, or they could be having like this wacky Alice in Wonderland adventure in, the spirit realm.
Yeah, hey, don't even worry about it.
All right. And Mako, what have you learned?
Well, I personally, not Mako, but me, I learned so many new things tonight. My brain is like full of information. But no, Mako is like a 17-year-old, 22-year-old. So she already thinks that she knows everything.
Nice.
So she learned that there's, these putzes who are out here trying to do stuff and they're bad at it.
That's fair.
So thank goodness she's here to help them and have the correct bottles of things.
Yeah, absolutely.
As per usual.
Alrighty, and finally, Ip, what have you learned?
Ip learned that he is a divine font of awesome power, and that faith beats science 10 times out of 10.
There you go.
Nice.
Hey, it's working so far.
I'm just saying, when you guys all turn out to be like possessed by the Great Mother in quotations, don't be looking to me for help. I tried to warn you.
I love that faith beats science 10 times out of 10 because we were working on it for 3 days and we did not try electricity. We did try lightning.
Well, you were getting there because, like I mentioned, you were getting some reactions when you were putting them in like saltwater baths and some things like that. That's actually where that was kind of going toward.
Okay, dope. Yeah, what did you say happened when we put it in salt water?
Some minor reactions, but it was inconsistent because you guys hadn't realized the electric part of it, the electric component. But that was definitely you were figuring it out. Ip kind of just jump started it and skipped a whole bunch of steps to just throw electricity at it.
And made half the group think that I was a freaking nut job.
I mean, probably more confirmed with the group.
Yeah, that's something else that Mako learned, that Ip is a freak. But you should trust what he says when he's in a weirdo trance state.
There you go.
She's a woman of science. She's like, damn, well, 1 out of 1 times he had crazy knowledge that he couldn't have, so.
Yeah, and you would be familiar with the fact that at least the beam of light coming from space, not that you exactly understand what space is, you guys have not even figured out that the world isn't flat.
Right. We live in a world that has magic and gods, so why not?
So you
be able to get information.
Exactly. So there's something real there for sure. You might not be 100% sure exactly what it is, or if the Great Mother is actually a god or whatnot, because Mono Anui is certainly not convinced.
Well, Mono Anui has had experience with otherworldly, with some transcendent beings. Let's just say that.
Yeah.
Mono Anui knows.
Older and wiser, yeah.
Yeah. Well, Mono Anui knows that not all of them have your best intentions at heart, and you might end up being a golem in someone's library.
And the one that you're working with also has warned you that he's not quite sure exactly what is going on with the Great Mother and what she is. So
exactly.
We're in some suspicion. Alrighty, well, thanks everyone for joining me. I hope you all had a great game, and I will see you all at the next one. Bye!